I am an Islamophobe. I don't hate Muslims, but I do really dislike Islam. I hate Islam, I could say, and I encourage Muslims to leave Islam.
This is a Visegrad 24 series about the Israel-Hamas war.
My name is Stefan Thompson. I'm here in Jerusalem, in the Arab quarter of Jerusalem, with an interview. I'm going to be interviewing Ridvan Aydemir, the Apostate Prophet, an ex-Muslim with a following of 500,000 people on YouTube. Ridvan, thank you for being here with us.
Thank you so much. It's a great pleasure.
My first question is, how did you become the Apostate Prophet? What led you to do what you do?
Well, so I grew up in a very religious Muslim family.
Yeah.
Over time, I had my doubts. After a very long time of questioning, I left the faith and I started exploring all of the things that I was indoctrinated with. Changed my opinion over the years, became quite angry with the way Islamic culture handles certain issues in the world. And at some point, I decided that there are not enough people who speak up, or not enough people who have the knowledge, or not enough people who say very openly some of the things that need to be said about Islam, about the Islamic influence in the world, Muslim culture, and so on. So I decided to create this character, Apostate Prophet, and to simply speak out. And you can tell from the name that it's quite offensive and controversial. Mm-hmm. But I did it deliberately just to attract enough attention and point out controversial things that need to be said.
When you were a Muslim, did you hold radical views? Did you hold fundamentalist views?
I did.
What are some of them?
I did believe that that in an ideal world, a caliphate should be established, and all lands should be turned into Islamic land, and that there is no legitimate rule in the world except the rule under Islam. You know, Allah is the only legislator. I did believe that I learned very early when I was in first grade that there will be soon a future where we will fight and kill the Jews, and even rocks and trees will hide behind, will say there is a Jew behind me, come and kill him. This is what I learned as a child.
And you grew up in Germany?
Yes, in Germany.
So these were, when you were learning the faith, you learned it from your parents, and you went to an Islamic school. How is it possible that you held such radical views growing up in a Western country? How typical do you think this is of Muslim migrants or second and third generation Muslims in the West? How often do you think they hold views that are as radical as that?
Well, one good thing about me is that I didn't take these things very seriously when I was still in Germany, when I was younger. I started taking them much more seriously when I got older and started living in Turkey. But I would say such views are extremely common, extremely popular. They're not at all rare. I would say the majority holds such views. And those who don't openly speak about these views just hold them privately and don't share them publicly because of politics and public sensitivities and all of that.
We've seen massive pro-Palestine protests across the West. Huge. 300,000 people marched in London. What we're not seeing is Muslim leaders speak out against Hamas, speak out against October 7th. Why do you think that is? Why do you think that so few people... Because surely the majority of Muslims are peaceful people. They just want to live, they want to prosper, they want to have a family, they want to have a good life, right? Surely.
Surely most of them are peaceful in the sense that they personally do not engage in violent acts, or that they personally do not engage in terrorist attacks and all of that. But one thing that needs to be understood with Muslim culture is that with Muslims, it is not just a religion. It's not just, okay, I believe in this, or tomorrow I don't believe in this, but hey, we are still good. With Muslim culture, the problem is that Muslims see themselves as one entity, as one nation.
The Ummah.
Yeah, the Ummah. And you are supposed to have complete loyalty to that nation, which is why if you leave Islam like me, you become a traitor. You don't just become a former believer, you become a traitor, and as a traitor, you are supposed to be killed, executed. And when it comes to a conflict like between Hamas and others, even those who don't necessarily agree with the strategies and attacks of Hamas will not speak against Hamas because to them this is a fight between their Muslim brothers and those who are their enemies.
You left Islam, you made it very public.
Yeah.
Your name is literally that, the Apostate Prophet. It is blasphemy towards the Muslim faith. What have the reactions been that you've received? Could you give me some of the examples of the negative ones? And if you could, some of the examples of the positive ones?
It's mostly negative. I would
Okay.
say over 90% is negative. It is mostly just insults and death threats. Just earlier, I was reading some that said things like, "I hope you get gutted like a fish," things like these. I got used to it over the years. It's just, yeah, here I am walking, But there are some positive ones. In fact, I received one quite recently that said I'm a Muslim and I love what Israel is doing and I support them. So there is some, there are some good developments that can be seen. It's not like Muslims are all monsters. There is a diversity in opinion, and if you allow the diversity to be there, you can see positive signs.
What do you think is the future of the Arab world? How can the Arab world move away from these? If you look at Pew Research Center data, you see very radical opinions held by substantial percentages of societies. How do you think that can be changed? Aside from, is there a version of Islam you think that can be actually soft and tolerant and compatible with the West, or not?
Now, a lot of people want to be more optimistic. I am not very optimistic when it comes to that. I would say that in the mainstream majority belief and way of practicing Islam, it is simply a problematic religion that cannot be fixed, because it is the only religion that has a book that is supposed to be a verbatim, the revelation of Allah that cannot be changed. It is a direct command to everyone. It includes very bad things, and the hadiths, which are attributed to Muhammad, things that he has said, are extremely violent and hateful, like the one that I just mentioned about fighting the Jews in the end times and all of that. Of course, in the end, despite their indoctrination, Muslims are humans too. If you introduce them to differences, there is chance for change. I just recently talked about something today with somebody else, which is, you mentioned the Pew polls. If you ask the people in the West Bank or in the Palestinian territories what they think about Jews, 99% say they dislike Jews. If you ask the Arab Muslims in Israel about them, over 50% say they like Jews. See, there is a very, very small distance between these two groups, and both of them are Arab Muslims. But you can see that that those who actually live here and get to know these people can radically change their opinion, and that's the beginning, And I don't know how that will work in the greater scheme, but it is possible.
Your journey away from faith led you to atheism. Can you tell me more about that?
Oh yeah, I was very religious and very deeply held on to my beliefs, but I questioned a lot of the things that were in the Quran, in my scripture, especially about the science and the world. So the first step was to let go of my Islamic belief. I was then not sure about the existence of God, and questioning further, my journey took me to a stance where I thought, I personally cannot believe that these other religions that I am looking into still, by the way, are true. And that's just where I am right now.
You grew up in Germany, you then grew up in Turkey, you're of Turkish origin. Mm-hmm. Your name obviously is Ridvan Aydemir.
Yeah, it's a Turkish one.
Do you consider yourself a Westerner?
I do. Because so I was born in Germany and lived there for 16 years. And when I moved to Turkey with my parents, I had great difficulties adjusting. And
despite having that faith, because obviously Turkey has an interesting past, there's a liberalization that happens, and then there is a radicalization that we're seeing right now, an almost slow motion Islamic Republic style takeover without that brutal overthrow of the Shah. But Erdogan is doing very interesting things in terms of interesting in the not necessarily positive way sense of the word.
Well, I was often in an identity crisis after I moved to Turkey, and I must say, like, I fell into the cognitive dissonance with these ideas that I have about the world, but also the way I learned to live in Germany. And like, for example, one of the issues was how women are treated. In Germany, it is extremely normal to just, mix and have, all kinds of friendships. Like, Germany is, in terms of gender relationships, I would say significantly more liberal than America, for example, where I live. And going from that environment to Turkey left me with, okay, I really like the way things were and it makes a lot of sense, but here are also my beliefs. And being caught in between that, at some point I chose to believe that the way I learned things in Germany is wrong and I should become hardcore Islamic. And I went that path, but it just didn't make sense over time. I think there was always something within me that was significantly more Western than Islamic or Eastern. And the same can be said about questioning things versus just believing anything and all that. I say I have great Western influence, and that is probably the reason why I am where I am now.
You grew up with these radical Muslim views. You grew up with anti-Semitic views. Here we are in Jerusalem. We've just been to the Western Wall. We've walked through the Arab Quarter. We're walking towards the Holy Sepulchre. What brought you here to Israel?
On October 7, a lot of things changed. Prior to this, I had pro-Israel views, and I talked about this whole conflict sometimes. But on October 7th, when the brutal attack happened by Hamas, it changed me as it changed so many other people. And I thought this is the ultimate battle in terms of what I have been talking about for years. But on top of that, when after the attack, people in the West and around the world started defending or justifying the actions of Hamas and vilifying the Jewish people and depicting Israel as this racist apartheid state where people are oppressed, I would say it made me really angry. And I passionately continued arguing, presenting research, connecting with more and more people. Eventually, I wanted to come here and see the sites of the attacks and interact with people. And I must say, after coming here and seeing everything, I am only much more pro-Israel and much more Zionist, proudly so. I love what I see here. I love what the people of Israel built. And yeah, that's where I am.
A common accusation against you is one of Islamophobia.
I am an Islamophobe. So,
what do you mean by that?
Well, the thing is, it is a term that is being that is taken and played with in such a mischievous way, where Islamophobia. What does it really mean? Is it a hate or prejudice toward Islam, or is it Muslims, or people lump all of these things together. I don't have anything specifically against Muslims. I don't hate Muslims. Obviously, when I'm confronted with terrible views that they hold and their attitude toward me, I express my anger. But I do really dislike Islam. I hate Islam, I could say, and I think it has had a terrible impact on humanity. And I would say there is no solution with Islam in the world. And I encourage Muslims to leave Islam. So in that sense, I love Muslims, and I want for them to leave Islam, which I think is a burden and a scourge upon everyone. In that sense, I am an Islamophobe, and I'm not against Muslims.
Ridvan, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time. I appreciate having met you. I appreciate our conversations. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate this, and you are doing great work. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you.